there's a lot of underlying tech behind this thing. I think one of the most interesting things I've ever found was this thing called the Byzantine generals problem. You've heard of it. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, you were just kind of explaining it to me.
Yeah. Alex, have you heard of the Byzantine generals problem?
No, I haven't.
Nothing? No. Okay, so it's basically a thought experiment. It has to do with how, what's the word? You said it before. Consensus. It's how to achieve consensus in a decentralized framework, right? So the underlying thing behind it is you have a system of, all right, well, this is like the super mathematical like explanation, you could say. But you have a system of whatever number of components, which are, you could say, dishonest, only point-to-point channel between all the components. Like, the thing comes from, let's say one general was in one place and another general was in another place. How will they know what the other person's strategy is on how to attack without an actual means of communication? You know, at the same time, how can they achieve the consensual agreement on an event?
So the way to kind of think about it is like you've got two generals up on a hill, up on two different hills, and then like a city they want to attack in the valley. And, you know, General A says, all right, we're going to attack at like 5 a.m. So he sends a horse to General B. But the problem is, how does General A know that General B got his horse? Yeah. So General B sends a horse back and says, yeah, I'm going to attack at 5 a.m. But how does General B know that General A got his horse? And this is important because if you're going to attack, you want consensus, right? Like both of these generals need to agree. So in a centralized system, let's bring in the money aspect here. The US dollar, the federal government is the consensus agent, right? Like we all use dollars, and if there's ever a dispute about dollars, the government has the power to step in and solve it. But if you're launching a decentralized currency, there is no central body of authority. So you need to find a way to reach consensus amongst decentralized peers, or else you wouldn't be able to verify transactions. So what happens in Bitcoin is it's an active scale, essentially. It's if you add all of these nodes and you have 1,000 generals, and 1,000 generals are all confirming each other's messages, then you low-key, just based off of math, you get to say we've reached a statistical consensus. So there's not a pure consensus, right? Because it would theoretically just require infinite messages back and forth. But if you've reached a statistical probability of consensus, then it's an effective consensus. And that's kind of the framework for blockchain and decentralized node systems, is how do we agree that we've made these payments?
You look like you're about to explode.
I mean, dude, wow, that's incredible. I can't believe I can't believe I never heard of the Byzantine generals problem. But the way you just explained it, anyone with a brain is going to be able to understand that. Like, that was beautiful the way you just explained it. And that's literally like, that is blockchain to a T. It's like everyone's like verified. Like it's like so trusted because like everything is like the horse A knows it, or the General A knows his horse got to General B, and General B knows his horse got to General A with blockchain technology.
Yeah.
Like it shows like all these. It's like a distributed ledger, and all these transactions are like approved and verified by like.
Exactly.
That's incredible. The way you explain it is a genius. We gotta clip that for sure. That's nuts. That was smart.
So Alex, do you understand?
That's gonna be a slice episode.
Yeah.
Just that alone.
So do you understand it a little better now, Alex?
Yeah, no, I got it clearly. I have a question though. Why didn't the Byzantine Emperor? Why didn't they just use a cell phone? What are they, stupid?
I don't know. Maybe because I don't know.
Well,
stupid question.
I mean, that gets funny because now when you send a text message with iPhone, what does it say? Delivered, right? There's this whole people forget. We take a lot of things for granted, but like confirmation and verification is a technological act on its own, right? Like how many times in the past could you send like an SMS, like the green text bubbles? You wouldn't know if it got there.
Yeah,
but now
so
iPhone,
true.
what did they do? They built their own network on their own centralized iMessage authority, and they act as the consensus agent. So now when they put delivered on your screen, you can trust that your message has been delivered. So this is a problem that spans any method of transaction, financial, communication, everything. Like, how do you verify is huge.
I don't know. So, like, all of human history, then.
Say it again, Alex.
So then, all of human history, then.
Oh yeah,
basically, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't even say transaction. I would literally just say communication.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it for sure.
That's crazy to think of it like that. And it's also crazy how Apple's basically Big Brother and controls all our iMessage.
That's a whole nother pod, bro. But it's crazy. It's nuts.
We don't. The thing is, like, people may say they know, but do they really know? Like, when they're like using US dollars and like having all these transactions, like, do they are they like who's verifying the transactions? Like, how do they know they're really happening? Like, you don't, like, it's the banks that like verify your transactions, right? But like, that's a centralized thing, so it can't be trusted as much as something that's decentralized, where like the people are verifying their transactions with blockchain. Like, that's why I think, like, the dollar is just dead because of like that alone. Like, it can't be trusted. Like, and we think we know what's going on in these transactions, but in reality, like, we really don't. Like, we don't. Like, people might think they do, and there might be a process, but no one sees it happening. Maybe they have record. Dude, I just don't buy it. And like, blockchain is just so legit in the sense that every single thing can be traced. Like, every transaction can be verified, and it is multiple times by I don't know how many different
tons.
Yeah, right, tons of times. Like, and that's why it really is. Like, even if you don't believe in Bitcoin, or like, because there are a lot of people that don't, in cryptos, like guys like Peter Schiff, like these guys, like whoever they are, like, even if they don't believe in any of these cryptos, everyone can agree on the fact that blockchain is a revolutionary technology and might be the biggest thing since the invention of the internet, just because of how we're going to be able to use it in the future.
Yeah, so that's what actually I wanted to let that lead to the next thing. Just the idea of blockchain itself, I think I agree, completely revolutionary. I'm very, very much bought into the idea. Obviously, this kind of gets us to also an argument against Bitcoin, but not there yet. I think that there are so many applications for it that we don't even, we're like, my comparison always was, we're in the 80s for blockchain, like where the internet was at that time. You know, like we need like another 30 years to see what this beast could really be, at least. But when we do, I mean, geez, I couldn't even fathom. Just imagine never ever having to adhere to a single type of currency or several type of currencies ever again. Everyone uses the same currency on the planet. That's essentially like a possibility, the way I see it.
Yeah, well, what you're really seeing too is like I think this idea of like a recent thing, if you want to get like deep into the altcoin forest here, is like Chainlink and Polkadot. There's a lot of, it's called like cross-chain communication.
Yes.
So, Bitcoin is great because it has the powerful network effects. It's strong immutability. It has the most hash power on the network, right? But there's things that other cryptocurrencies do better. So like with Ethereum, you can write programmable contracts. With something like Yearn Finance, it's like algorithmically optimized for yield farming, all these kinds of things. Cardano has a like decentralized governance platform that's super beta, but incredibly interesting. So what you see is there's now cryptocurrencies that their whole thing is like, we'll let you link cryptocurrency transactions. So how do we take the Bitcoin blockchain and marry it to the Ethereum blockchain? How do we marry that to the Cardano blockchain? So imagine if you were in a world and currencies had properties, and now whenever I spend a currency, my phone, my wallet is just programmed to link my transactions amongst the most optimal chain of currencies according to properties. And then it constantly incentivizes society to develop the most beneficial property-based currencies they can. So I don't necessarily know if I buy into the like it's all going to go Bitcoin or it's all going to go ETH, but I see like this beautiful marriage between all of these like different blockchains and technologies.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a huge misconception about all this as well, is that people think that when you create a blockchain that you can only use Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum on the Ethereum blockchain. No, there is literally technology coming out that allows you to transfer between. I mean, one example actually is SushiSwap. It's a lending platform that lets you essentially just loan out your Bitcoin, and you can accrue interest based on you being almost like a bank, because you're just letting people borrow it in a way. And that's in itself a way that you can convert Bitcoin into another platform. So that's literally just one way. I mean, there's so many other blockchains that are doing stuff like this right now. And I mean, even beyond the financial sector, you know, I feel like healthcare needs it for sure.
Definitely.
Healthcare needs blockchain. I know we talked about this because of our senior design project. I'm very much a huge believer that the energy sector needs it as well. But that's a really tough problem to solve, because electricity is not really easy to play with. Do you guys have any other thoughts on what do you think blockchain could help us fix?
Well, just imagine having
voting as well.
Yeah,
that's one thing.
Having a permanent online presence of information, right? So if I could upload all my insurance documents, my ID, all this kind of stuff, and then it's just like I have we give people a social security number. Like, people get really scared of this, but like we've already given somebody that, like, this is the one number that you need to protect to keep your whole life. Well, why don't we wrap other things into that? Why don't I just have my social security number now act as the key for my insurance, for my driver's license, for my academic records, like my transcripts, for my bank account? Like, you can tie all of this together, and then all of a sudden, like, if I am doing a loan agreement with some other body or something, I send them that, and then in that contract, they can now pull my credit history from like this stored information that's just on these decentralized platforms. And then all of a sudden, like, I think that just makes, like, all of this removes so much friction and just makes everybody's lives, like, easier and more. And again, now I know this person who says who they are. I have a more trusted way of telling who they are. Exactly. Right. So I think it's just store information. What a beautiful way of storing information.
You speak really well on it, but what Pete said, like, is also a really good analogy. Like, we are like in the 80s with blockchain, like the 80s was in with the internet. Like, and I don't know if that's exactly how you said it, but it's that same concept of like 25 years from now, like 50 years from now, like this is gonna be the technology. Like, you know, like this is like what's, you know, gonna really take us like to places that we didn't even know. Like, the whole, like, we really are tied into a social security number.
Right. You already have a number. Like, if there was no number where someone could hack your life, maybe this would make me nervous, right? But like, it already exists. Like, by doing this, you're not taking on any new risk, right? You're just reaffirming the already level of risk, but just getting more benefit out of it. So if you can up your gain but keep your risk fixed, that seems like a win-win to me.
And it's only possible with blockchain. Like, that's like super important to understand. That's what I was saying. Like, everyone like is on board with like, hey, like maybe it's not Bitcoin, maybe it's not Ethereum or Doge or what, like, but it is blockchain. Like, it is blockchain. Like that. Like, this podcast. I mean, geez, can we talk about it? Holy cow! Like, you really said some smart stuff. That like, if whoever's listening to this, like, really think about that, because it.
You know, it really all just comes down to forms of communication. The Byzantine generals problem itself is the underlying aspect of how we exchange ideas. An idea can be me asking you to join the podcast today, or me paying you for a bottle of orange juice.
Right. In a digital world, they're the same thing.
Basically. Because everything runs in bits nowadays. It's ones and zeros. A computer is not going to know whether I'm asking you for a bottle of orange juice, a coffee, or a new microphone.
Yeah, right.
It's just going to see it as data.
So true.
Yeah. So, Alex, what are your thoughts, dude? I feel like you're just...
Alex is taking it all in.
I had 3 questions.
Yeah.
4 if we include... So since this is the most recent, so for the social security idea, you are thinking of lumping all the important information about ourselves on top of whatever the social security takes care of. doesn't that create a bigger risk in the sense that if someone has your social security, your life is even more screwed than it already would have been?
Right. So this is, I mean, it's definitely like, it's important to note that like, it's hard to find a solution that solves absolutely everything. And then I'm also like a little more of a rarity amongst I'm definitely like a hardcore crypto Bitcoin kind of guy, but I'm maybe a little more of a rarity that I still do believe in like central governance and central bodies. So yeah, we'll get into how you hold both of those heads in your thought at the same time, because that's definitely my more contentious opinion. But it's the same thing here, right? Like there is some form of remittance. Like if your social security gets stolen, like it is a pain in the ass. But in a theoretically good system, you would be able to talk to the government officials properly and recover that and change your number and get it. In this yeah. We're working on it. But there is so I do still see like a path to remittance for that and some form of central management, right? But I think the blockchain technology, like the wrapping all of that into a single access point that can then be pulled from anyone, like how crazy is it that I have to like scan my birth certificate, send that scan to somebody, then they have to like whatever, I don't even know what backend they use to verify that stuff. Why can't I just say, hey, here's a hash number, you'll find my birth certificate there? Like that, like why can't I just text someone the hash to get to my birth certificate? Like I like the technology's there, and as like a lover of technology, it's just so painful to use all these old like fax. What the hell is fax? Like why is that still a thing? So I think definitely like there needs to be some sort of system in place for recovery, because like you lose your Bitcoin, like you're losing some money, but you're not losing your life, hopefully. But like if you lose this number, there does need to be some path to remittance for not losing all of your stuff. Don't lose proof that you exist, right?
Dude, of course. You've heard about the guy that literally threw his $250 million worth of Bitcoin into the trash and like went to search in the landfill area to find it. The other guy in the Bay Area that lost it because he lost the password.
He has only 2 more attempts left, and he's got like over 220 million in Bitcoin. Or something crazy. And he's like a programmer in San Fran too. Like this guy, like he grouped with like a bunch of the smartest people he knew, and like they went through and did like 8 of his most common passwords. Like he just says like some nights he just doesn't sleep. Like he'll just look up at the ceiling and just think.